Hey, what's up guys? Ryan here from ExtremeTerrain, and today I'm here with the Barricade rear fenders with a 3-inch flare fitting your 1987 to 1995 Jeep Wrangler JL. This is going to be a huge upgrade from your plastic flare, and whether you're looking for that aggressive look, off-road styling, add additional side protection, or if you're just trying to match a set of tubular front fenders that you have, you should be checking out this set from Barricade. It's a very affordable set, coming in right around $165 when compared to other options that could cost up to $500. These are made of heavy-duty steel and they bolt directly to the body, making them a very strong unit. Two fenders are going to give you a very unique and aggressive look, something that you're not going to get with a plastic fender. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're buying rear fender flares is going to be tire coverage. If you live in a state that requires your tires to be covered up, ideally a steel fender is not going to be your best option. These stick out about 3 inches and they're really not going to give you much coverage, especially after you start running larger tires, wider tires, and an offset wheel. So if you're looking for more tire coverage, you want to go with a plastic flare because of course they come in options 6-7 inches wide. They're going to give you a ton of more coverage. But if you live in a state that's not so strict about that and you're just looking for this styling and the protection, then I think a steel fender is a great option to go with. Now, even when compared to plastic options, these are still going to be a relatively affordable option. You're getting a full steel setup, they're going to provide a ton of protection to the side, and this is going to be great for when you're off-roading. Now, these are going to give you that aggressive off-road styling, and they have a very unique design to them. They're coated in a textured black powder coating. It's not only going to add to that aggressive off-road styling, but it's also going to protect them from the elements, keeping them corrosion-free. This comes with brand new hardware, and it is all stainless steel, so it's not going to rust on you. And as far as installation goes, these are pretty easy to install. Like I said, they utilize factory mounting points. You just have to enlarge it just a little bit with a drill bit. As far as installation goes, these are pretty easy to install. I'm going to give them a pretty easy 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can expect to get these installed in about 2 hours. Now, with that being said, let's hop into the install. Tools that we use for this install: 3/8 drive impact, a drill, 4mm Allen, 15/64 drill bit, 8mm socket, 10mm wrench, 1/4 inch drive ratchet, and a pair of vice grips. So before we get started with this installation and taking this fender flare off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the Jeep up. I'm actually going to take the wheel off. The reason I'm taking the wheel off is because it's going to give us a little more space to work in there, and also it's going to get you guys a little better sight of exactly what I'm doing. Now, this isn't absolutely necessary to do this. It does give you a little extra room, and if you do have oversized tires such as this guy right here, then it would be well worth it. So what I'm going to do is just stick the jack right underneath of our spring. I'm going to jack it up, take the tire off, and then we'll get started. So now that we have our wheel off, you can see that we have plenty of space to work in here. Now, the way that these factory fender flares are held on, they have little metal screws going into the backside through the body, and they actually go into these little plastic blocks. So I have a pair of vice grips so we can hold onto those blocks, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drive ratchet with an 8mm socket to unthread them. There's going to be 7 total, so we're just going to start and work our way around and get all these out. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this first one down here. Take the vice grips, clamp on. Now we're going to go on the backside. So the problem with these is they have a very shallow head. It's not very tall, and also they're through this plastic wheel well. So a lot of times they're sunken in and they have rust built up on the head. So you want to press really hard when you're trying to get these off. Make sure that you're not spinning on top of the head. And we're going to try to get these out. I would suggest using hand tools. If you use air tools, they're going to go a lot faster, but you also have a tendency to strip the head. And this way you can kind of control it, get these things to loosen up. Once you get that off, you're going to see you pull this little block off, then we can push this screw out through the back side. So we're going to go ahead and get this last one off. You might want to get someone to hold the fender flare for you. If there is a plastic panel right here that goes around, you'll need to pull that down so you can access the screw from the backside. Doesn't look like this one has this on this side. And once we get this last screw out, then we can remove the fender flare. So before we get our new one installed, I want to take a moment just to talk about some of the differences between your factory one and an aftermarket heavy-duty steel fender such as this, and also some of the benefits that you're going to get with an aftermarket one. The first one I want to talk about is your stock one. Now your stock one is roughly 3.5 inches deep, and it's going to give you plenty of tire coverage. It is also made out of plastic, so there's pros and cons to it being plastic. One is that if you do brush up against something, which is not too bad on a trail, that's going to flex and kind of move out of the way. So there is good and bad to that. So if you're looking for something that's a little stronger, a little more armor, then you want to upgrade to a steel fender such as this. It's made of heavy-duty steel plating, and it has a very nice tube in here. So you have this back plate right here. You have another section that's going to be welded all the way around, and that's going to connect the tube to this back section right here. This is pretty thick steel right here, and it's a very strong unit, and this tube is pretty nice and fully welded up. So this is going to add a lot of armor to your Jeep. So if you are on the trail and you happen to run into something, this is going to be bolted right onto the side of your Jeep. It's not going to move, and it's going to take the brunt of that force. So it's going to save your body. Now this is a 3-inch flare, so you're going to get a little bit of less tire coverage than your factory one, but of course it's going to add more of an aggressive look, and you're going to get a lot more protection. If you want a steel fender, they're really not going to come in a bigger size than a 3-inch. I know because I have these front and rear on my Jeep. And if you want to go with a plastic one, then that's of course going to give you more tire coverage for when you're running offset wheels and wider tires, but at the same time you're not going to get the protection and the armor from a plastic one as you are a steel one. These one are direct bolt on, and what I really like is they reuse all of those factory holes. We do have to make the holes a little bit bigger, but they come with brand new stainless steel hardware, and as you can see, these have a very nice textured black powder coating. It's going to add to that aggressive styling of your Wrangler. It's also going to add corrosion protection from these, protecting them from the elements, and this is great if you live on the East Coast where we deal with a lot of salt, wet climates, or if you really like to go off-roading, you're kicking stones up and you're getting mud slung all on them. So with that being said, I want to show you how to get these installed and what they look like on the Jeep. So before we get our fender installed, there's a couple things that I want to talk about. Now with this kit, you're getting brand new stainless steel hardware. This is really nice because it looks really nice and it's also not going to rust. Now as you can see, this bolt does not fit through these factory holes. The nice thing about these fenders is that it does reuse these factory holes, but we do have to open them up a little bit. So I'm actually going to use a drill with a 15/64 just to open these holes up ever so slightly. That way this hardware will fit in. Another thing is, these are older vehicles. We're dealing with YJs, and as you can see, there is a little bit of rust. So at this point in time, you have the fender off. It would be a good idea to take care of some of this stuff, sand it down, freshen it up, put some new paint on it before you slap that fender on. However, I'm going to go ahead and take a drill bit. We'll open up all these holes, and we'll grab our fender and get it installed. So at this point in time, we're ready to install this fender. Now we did drill holes, we exposed bare metal, so it would be a good idea to paint that. Also, this is a pretty heavy fender, so I would recommend grabbing a friend to help you. Each one of these bolts is gonna face inward. That's just because it looks nicer that way. We're gonna place a washer on the head, and it's gonna get a washer and a nut on the backside. So I'm gonna go ahead and line this thing up and install all of my hardware. So now we have all of our hardware installed, we're gonna go around and tighten everything up. So I'm gonna use a 10mm for the nut, and I'm gonna use this long 4mm Allen key for the bolt head. Once I get all this tightened up, throw the wheel back on, then we can drop the vehicle down. So now that we have this side completely installed, you can do the same exact thing to get that other side installed. However, that's going to wrap up my review and installation. For more videos and products like this, check us out at ExtremeTerrain.com.